I felt like I was watching my own heart from outside my body. She was in there, wearing my hoodie, tearing that napkin into pieces, and I was sitting in my car like a coward. I thought, go in, just go in, tell her you love her. But I couldn't. I couldn't because I knew that if I walked in there, I'd be walking in broken. I'd be clinging to her like a life raft, expecting her to save me. And that wasn't fair to her. I needed to save myself first. I watched her check her watch again, and I felt tears roll down my cheeks. I whispered to myself, I love you. That's why I have to let you go. I took a shaky breath. I knew what I had to do. I felt the rain soaking through my clothes, but I didn't care. I was walking toward her, and my heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. I thought, this is it. This is the moment. I opened the door. The little bell above it chimed. She was standing there, frozen, waiting. I walked toward her. I stopped a few feet away. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt my heart crack. I had to do this. I had to be brave. I opened my mouth. Saki, I need to tell you something. She nodded, her eyes shining. Anything. I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. She was looking at me like I'd just destroyed her, and I had. I held out the letter, my hands trembling, and I said the words that had been in my head for weeks. I'm choosing you by choosing myself. She stared at me, confusion and pain warring on her face. I explained, my voice shaking. I'm not ready for you. I'm not whole. And you deserve someone whole. You deserve someone who can love you without losing themselves. She started to cry. I don't care if you're broken. I love you anyway. I shook my head. I know. That's why I have to do this. I stepped back. I started to walk away. She called my name, and I almost turned around, but I didn't. I felt the rain on my face, cold and cleansing. I thought, what have I just done? I'd walked away from the girl I loved. I'd broken both our hearts. But I also felt something else, relief. The weight I'd been carrying for months was finally gone. The secret was out. I didn't have to hide anymore. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to be anyone other than myself. I stopped in the middle of the street, closed my eyes, and let the rain wash over me. I thought about her face, her tears, her voice calling my name. I thought about the letter I'd given her. I thought about the future I was choosing, a future where I was whole. I whispered to the rain, I'll find my way back to you when I'm ready. I promise. I felt like I was drowning in my own grief. I hadn't left my room in days. I was just lying there, clutching that Polaroid, replaying the moment I walked away from her. I thought, was it the right choice? Was I wrong? I didn't have an answer. I just had this hollow ache in my chest that wouldn't go away. My phone kept buzzing, but I couldn't answer it. I couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't explain why I'd done what I'd done. I couldn't say the words out loud. I just lay there, in the dark, holding the photo, and let the tears come. I knew I needed to get up. I knew I needed to start healing, but I wasn't ready yet. Not yet. I felt something shift inside me. The Polaroid was still there, a reminder of what I'd let go, but I didn't feel the same raw grief. I felt acceptance. I thought, this is hard. This is so hard, but I'm going to be okay. I started writing in my journal, trying to make sense of everything. I wrote about my decision, my fear, my hope. I wrote that I didn't know if she'd wait for me, but I knew I was going to work on myself. I knew I was going to become someone worth waiting for. I looked at the Polaroid and I smiled. A soft, sad smile. I whispered to her, even though she couldn't hear me. I'm coming back. I promise." And for the first time in weeks, I believed it. I felt the cold air on my face, and I realized I was smiling, a real smile. I thought, I'm going to be okay. I was walking through the park, kicking leaves, listening to music, and I felt like I was finally emerging from a long fog. I thought about her. I always thought about her, but it didn't hurt the same way anymore. It was more like a gentle ache, a reminder of what I was working toward. I stopped and looked up at the sky. I wondered if she was okay. I hope she was. I hoped she was healing like I was. I thought, one day I'll find my way back to her when I'm ready. I took a sip of my coffee and kept walking. The leaves crunched under my feet. The world was turning, and I was turning with it. I felt my heart stop when I saw the note. It was her handwriting, messy and familiar and so incredibly her. I read the words, "I'm still waiting. Take your time." I felt tears spill down my cheeks. She'd been here. She'd known I'd find this. She'd planted a message, a seed of hope. I clutched the note to my chest, laughing and crying at the same time. I thought, she's still waiting. Even now, she's still waiting. I looked around the bookstore as if she might appear, but she wasn't there. Just her words, echoing through time. I whispered to the empty room, "I'm coming. I'm almost ready." I tucked the note into my pocket, next to my heart. I was going to keep it forever. It was proof that she loved me, that she was still waiting. I felt a sense of peace as I wrote those final words. I'd been working on this letter for weeks, trying to find the right words, and now I had them. I read it out loud and it felt true. I was ready, or close to ready. I folded the letter, slipped it into an envelope, and addressed it to her. I thought, tomorrow I'll send this, and then I'll wait. I didn't know if she'd write back. I didn't know if she was still waiting, but I had to try. I had to tell her I was coming. I held the envelope to my chest and closed my eyes. I whispered to the dark room, "I'm coming home." I felt my heart race as I handed over the letter. It was done. I'd sent it. I told her I was ready. Now I had to wait. I walked out of the post office, and I felt a strange mix of relief and terror. I thought, what if she doesn't write back? What if she's moved on? I shook my head. I couldn't think like that. I had to trust her. I had to trust what we had. I walked home, my hands in my pockets, watching the leaves fall. I whispered to the wind, "I sent it. I'm coming. I hope you're still there." I didn't know if she'd reply, but I had to believe she would. I had to believe in her. I felt like I was dreaming. I'd been checking the mail every day, hoping for a reply, and today it was there. Her handwriting, messy and familiar. I held it like it was made of glass, afraid I'd break it. I walked back to my apartment, my legs so shaky I almost collapsed. I sat on my bed, staring at the envelope, my heart pounding. I thought, this is it. This is everything. I opened it with shaking hands. Her words spilled out, and I read them slowly, savoring every word. She said she was still waiting. She said she missed me. She said she believed in me. I felt tears streaming down my face. I was so happy. I was so scared. I was so ready. I held the letter to my chest, and I whispered to the empty room, "Thank you. Thank you for waiting." I felt like I was going to vibrate out of my skin. I was sitting at the corner table, the same one she'd sat at when she was waiting for me. I thought about that day, how I'd watched her from my car, how I'd walked away. Now I was here, and she was coming. I watched the door, my heart racing with every opening. And then I saw her, a familiar silhouette, her hair, her walk, her everything. I felt tears spring to my eyes. She was here. She was really here. I stood up, almost knocking over my chair. She saw me. Her face lit up. She started walking toward me, and I walked toward her. We met in the middle. We just looked at each other. She said my name, and I felt everything shift into place. Mika. I smiled. I'm ready. I felt like I was finally home. We were sitting at the corner table, the tea long cold, our hands intertwined. I told her everything, the months of grief, the healing, the growth. She listened, her eyes soft, her hand never leaving mine. As she said I looked different, whole, I felt it. I thought, I'm not the same person who walked away. I'm better. I'm more. I apologized for leaving, and she told me not to. She said I did what I needed to do. And she was right. I had. I squeezed her hand, and I said, I'm ready to love you, fully, completely. She squeezed back, tears in her eyes. I've been ready. I leaned in. I kissed her, soft, tender, full of months of longing. And I felt everything fall into place. I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. We were back on the rooftop, our spot, the place where everything had started. The city lights were twinkling, the moon was full, and she was in my arms. I thought, we made it. We actually made it. She asked what happened next, and I told her the truth. We live. We build a life together. She smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. I kissed her forehead, and she nestled deeper into me. We didn't make any big plans. We just existed, together. I thought, this is what I was waiting for. Not a perfect ending, a new beginning. I squeezed her hand, and I whispered, thank you for waiting. She squeezed back. Thank you for coming back. We watched the stars. We had all the time in the world. I felt like I was in a dream. We were making breakfast together, pancakes and coffee, and everything that made the world feel right. Saki was at the stove, and I wrapped my arms around her, and she laughed. And I thought, this is it. This is what I was missing. Yuki was at the table, pretending to be annoyed, but I knew she was happy. She was happy for us. I threw a napkin at her, and she threw one back, and Saki laughed at both of us. I felt a warmth spread through my chest, a sense of belonging. I thought, I'm not a guest anymore. I'm not a visitor. I'm home. I kissed Saki's cheek, and she turned and kissed me properly. Yuki made a gagging sound. We ignored her. I felt like I was floating. Spring had arrived, and everything felt new. We were walking through the park, hand in hand, and I felt a sense of peace I'd never known. I stopped to pick a flower, tucking it behind her ear, and she laughed, her cheeks flushing. I thought, I love making her laugh. I love making her smile. She said I was a romantic, and I told her she made me one. And it was true. She brought out the best in me. She made me want to be better. She leaned in and kissed me, and I felt the world stop. I never wanted this moment to end. I pulled back, looking at her, and I said, I love you. She smiled, her eyes shining. I love you too. And I knew that we were going to be okay. I felt like I was living in a dream. We were in the kitchen making dinner together, and everything felt so normal, so right. I was supposed to be chopping vegetables, but I kept getting distracted by her. She looked so beautiful, so at home, standing at the stove. I snuck up behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist, and she leaned into me, laughing. She said I was going to ruin dinner, and I told her it was worth it. She turned and kissed me, and I felt my heart swell. I thought, I could do this forever. I could spend the rest of my life in this kitchen with her. Yuki walked in and made a gagging sound. You two are disgustingly cute. I grinned. I know. I felt like my heart was going to burst. She was lying next to me, her hand in mine, and I couldn't stop looking at her. She asked what I was thinking about, and I told her the truth. how happy I am. She smiled, and I felt everything click into place. She kissed me, and I pulled her closer. I thought, this is it. This is everything. I didn't want the night to end. I wanted to hold her forever. I whispered, I'm so glad I found you. She whispered back, I'm so glad you came back. We fell asleep tangled in each other, and I knew that we were going to be okay. Not perfect, but okay. And that was enough. I felt like I was in a dream. I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of her humming in the kitchen. She was wearing my t-shirt, making pancakes, and I felt a surge of love so intense it almost knocked me over. I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist, and she leaned into me, just like I'd always imagined she would. I said, this is nice. And she said, this is our life now. I kissed her neck, and she turned and kissed me properly. I thought, I could do this every day. I could spend forever with her. She pulled back, her eyes soft. I love you, she said. I grinned. I love you too. We ate pancakes, and I felt the weight of the past fade away. This was my new beginning. I felt a warmth spread through my chest as she asked me that. What do you want, Mika, in the future? I'd spent so long not knowing, but now I did. I want you. I want us. I want a life together. She smiled, and I saw my future reflected in her eyes. I kissed her, and I felt everything fall into place. The months of grief, the fear, the waiting, it all made sense. It was all leading to this moment, this kitchen, this woman, this life we were building together. I pulled back, resting my forehead against hers. I love you, I whispered. She whispered back, I love you too. We stood there in the sunlit kitchen, holding each other, and I knew that this was my home, not a place, a person. I felt like my heart was going to overflow. She was sleeping next to me, her hand on my chest, and I could feel her heartbeat, steady and real. I watched her sleep, this woman who had changed everything. I ran my fingers through her hair, and she stirred, a soft smile on her face. I whispered, thank you for waiting. I thought about everything we'd been through, the fear, the grief, the loneliness, and I realized that it had all been worth it. Every moment of pain had led me here, to her, to us. I leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. She murmured my name in her sleep, and I felt tears sting my eyes. I was so grateful, so incredibly grateful. I held her close, and I promised myself, I will never take this for granted. I will love her every day for the rest of my life. I woke up to her looking at me, her eyes soft, her smile warm. I thought, how did I get so lucky? I reached up and touched her face, and she leaned into my hand like a cat. She said I was beautiful, and I wanted to say the same thing back, but I was too overwhelmed by the feeling of being loved. She kissed me, and I felt everything fall into place. I thought, this is my life now. This is my forever. I pulled back, looking at her. I love you, I said. She smiled. I love you too. We lay there, tangled in each other, and I knew that we were going to be okay. Not perfect, but okay. And that was enough. I felt a sense of peace settle over me. We were back on the rooftop, our spot, the place where everything had started. The stars were out, and she was in my arms. I thought about everything that had happened in the past year, the fear, the grief, the growth. I thought about how far I'd come. I'd walked away from her to find myself, and I had. I was whole. I was ready. I squeezed her hand, and she squeezed back. I love you, I said. She looked up at me, her eyes soft. I love you too. I felt tears sting my eyes. Thank you for waiting. She smiled. Thank you for coming back. I kissed her, and I felt everything fall into place. We were here. We were together. And we were going to be okay. I felt a warmth spread through my chest as I watched her laugh. She was wearing a flower crown I'd made her, and she looked so happy, so free. I felt a surge of love so intense I had to stop walking. She turned to look at me, and I told her I was happy. She said she was happy too. I pulled her into a hug, holding her close, and I whispered, I love you. She whispered back, I love you too. We stood there in the park, surrounded by spring, and I felt the weight of the past lift off me. I thought, this is my life. This is my forever. I pulled back and looked at her. I'm never letting you go. She smiled. You'd better not. I laughed. I was so happy, so incredibly happy. I felt a sense of peace settle over me as I held the letter. It was the letter I'd written on this bench a year ago, the letter where I said goodbye so I could find myself. I read it out loud and I laughed at how scared I was. Saki laughed too. She said it was beautiful. I folded the letter and tucked it away, forever a reminder of how far I'd come. She asked if I was glad I walked away. I thought about it, the grief, the healing, the growth, and I nodded. It brought me back to you. She kissed me, soft and sweet. I'm glad you came back. I smiled. Me too. I looked at her, this woman who had changed everything, and I thought about the journey, the fear, the hope, the love. I thought about the 2.7 seconds that started it all, and I smiled, because it wasn't the ending I'd imagined. It was better. I felt a surge of joy as I raised the Polaroid camera. The sun was golden, the park was blooming, and she was laughing. That beautiful, unguarded laugh that had made me fall in love with her in 2.7 seconds. She struck a pose, hands up, head thrown back, and I clicked the shutter. The camera whirred and the photos slowly developed in my hands. Her smile, frozen in time. Our love, captured forever. I looked at the Polaroid, then at her, and I felt my heart swell. I thought, this is what I was fighting for. This moment, this woman, this life. I handed her the photo and she laughed, shaking her head. You're gonna have a whole album of just my face. I grinned. That's the plan. I looked around at the scattered Polaroids, the laughter echoing in the golden sunset light. Yuki was telling some ridiculous story, her hands flying everywhere, and Saki was laughing so hard she had tears streaming down her cheeks. I leaned into Saki, her warmth grounding me. I thought, this is my family. Not blood, but something stronger. Choice, love, belonging. Yuki caught my eye and grinned, her expression saying everything we didn't need words for. She was happy. We were happy. We were finally, completely, perfectly whole. She threw a Polaroid at me. That one's for your wallet, loser. I caught it. It was the three of us, laughing, frozen in a moment of pure joy. I tucked it into my pocket, next to my heart. I held the cassette tape in my hands, running my thumb over the worn label. Her handwriting was smudged, but I could still read it. For Mika, the summer of '98. She reached out, her fingers brushing mine, and I felt the familiar spark, the one that had first flickered in that rainy kitchen doorway, the one that had grown into an inferno, the one that had survived everything. She looked at me, her eyes soft, and she said, "That tape has all the songs that made me think of you." I laughed softly. "All of them?" She nodded. "All of them." I held the tape to my chest, the same way I'd held her letter, the same way I'd held her memory through all those lonely months. I thought, this is our story, written in songs and smiles and stolen glances. She leaned in and kissed me, soft, warm, full of everything we had been through and everything we had yet to become. When she pulled back, she whispered, "I'm glad you came back." I smiled. Me too. And I knew with absolute certainty that our story was just beginning.
If you've ever loved someone so much that you had to let them go just so you could find yourself, then you know this feeling, the ache, the hope, the quiet joy of coming home to yourself first. This is the story of two people who found each other, lost each other, and grew into the kind of love that was always meant to be. A love that didn't need to be perfect, just real. Thank you for watching. If you want to see where their journey goes next, what happens after the spring, after the letter, after forever, then smash that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. To be continued.